Welcome back to The Narrative. I'm your storyteller, Callistra Faria. Well, in the ongoing saga, Father GERARD Paul versus Bishop Clyde Harvey and the Holy Family Church of River Sally in St. Patrick and Grenada has gone one step further, but some may say a step in the right direction. All parties met on Saturday in St. George's to broker a deal that would see an end to the public confrontation between Father Paul and the Catholic Church. Now, this all started at Chrisa Mass when Father Paul took issue with the church, what he says is the church's silence on the Gaza, the Palestine-Israel genocide of the people of Gaza. Now, Father Paul was suspended from his priestly duties by Bishop Harvey in St. George's, and on Saturday they met in the presence of two mediators, Shirin Wilkinson and Terence Smith, and witnessed by leading constitutional lawyer, Dr. Francis Alexis, who's also a Catholic. And an agreement was reached that both sides will not say anything that can be negative towards the church or create problems for the church. And Father Paul's suspension is in abeyance, meaning the suspension is on hold as long as all parties abide by the agreement that was reached. Joining me on the program now is Father Paul himself to speak about the way forward and the agreement that was reached. Welcome to the program, Father Paul.
Thank you very much. Good morning and welcome, and thanks to your listeners.
All right, it's good to have you on. We were at your church on WPG10 and The Narrative. We were at your church on Sunday, but you were not the primary celebrant at the Mass. Father Carl Haynes said Mass, and given that your suspension is in abeyance, what happened there? Why were you not the primary celebrant at Mass at Holy Family?
Okay. So, Callisto, first of all, I want to clarify something. You said the saga between Father Paul and the church. So there is a little correction, but significant though. There wasn't really a saga between, or isn't a saga between me and the church. You can't say there is a saga between me and the church. The Bishop Clyde Harvey and I we've been having it out, if you like, and he represents the church as much as I represent the church. So you can't say between me and the church. He is not the church. As a matter of fact, if you do a poll, you probably might find between 95 and 99% of the Catholic members and of the general population of my position. So it's not between me and the church. I didn't have a saga with the church. In fact, the church, if you speak in the church came down very heavily on my side, as I pointed out. My own assumption is between 95 to 99% of the church community, as well as the wider population, and I mean across the Caribbean and across the world.
I'm seeing you fine. I'm seeing you're coming across just fine, Father Paul. So there, you took issue with the church. What you said at Chrism, you called out the Pope, you called out the Bishop, you called out priest. You said that the church is silent on this matter. So this is a genesis of this current contention that existed. The bishop at the center of it, as the person in charge of this diocese, is what you call it. So you're saying there wasn't a saga, or there was a saga, but it was between you and Bishop Harvey. Is that what you're clarifying?
Yeah, I'm saying if you speak in terms of a saga, it will be between Clyde Harvey, the bishop, and myself. It cannot be between the church and me. Because when you say the church, yes, he represents the church, but I also represent the church.
Got you.
So
Got
it
you.
was
So
not
so
like
it seems as if
that.
I'm putting you outside of the church when you are very much in the church.
Right, like I am one individual, or even if I'm a member of the church, me on this one side and the entire church on the other side, which it wasn't, you know.
And now, in the agreement, it says that neither you nor Bishop Harvey will say anything that can be negative towards the church. That seems kind of confining and restrictive for you you've been very critical of the church. This has all started because you were tremendously critical of the church. Do you feel like you would be able to stay within the parameters of that and not, it doesn't say you're not allowed to criticize the church, but it may be a fine line to walk here?
I don't think any agreement of this kind will always, you know, will almost always have a clause of this nature because we are still in the process and we do not want inflammatory statements to be made and so on to make a bad situation worse. You are in the process of reconciliation. And we know that a husband and a wife have some disputes and they're talking, uh, they're lying in bed the next day and so on. You know, one is always sensitive as to what one say and what one does not say because you do not want to interrupt the ongoing process and and retrogress to the bad situation. So, but then that in terms of your second part of your question, it does not restrict really. In church yesterday, I was able to express my views on the matter, um, my views on Gaza, my views on even on the technically, in the most subtle way on the so-called suspension. And I don't think in any way I I transgressed the clause, that particular clause that is in question.
Because what the clause says is that going forward, neither Bishop Harvey nor Father Gerard Paul will make any public statement apt to not be in the best interest of the Catholic Church. And one of the things that how this all started is because you accuse the church of being silent on the Gaza matter, of not taking up a cause that people in the world are really upset about, the genocide of a people that we see happening in real time before our eyes. You've said the church was silent, and you were extremely critical of the church. That did not seem to go down well with the bishop. He, in my mind, he obviously took issue with you saying that the church has not been saying anything on the genocide. Would it be in the best interest of the church to say that the church is silent on one of the worst scenes that we've seen playing out in our eyes in the last year or two?
Okay, so from my own perspective, the issues remain. Gaza continues. Even if Netanyahu was to stop the bombing today, the issue of Gaza remains. So one cannot be silent on it. So,
but not on the issue. But if you believe that the church continues to be silent on it and not speak out in a manner that you believe the church is positioned to do, would you go ahead and again criticize and call out the church and say, you're being silent on?
I was coming to that in response to your question. That the church, it's a fact that the church uh, has been very silent on that matter. It's a fact that the church has been very silent on many, many, many matters. Over the history of the church, you just turn the pages of the history of the church and see how the church has been silent. The church was very silent during slavery. In fact, the church was part and parcel of slavery. I've said that over and over again, and it's not me saying that. These are facts. Whether I say it or not, these remain facts. With slaves are brutally treated, the Atlantic trade, the triangular trade, all the nice names they gave it. Millions of people died. You took people out of where they were and enslaved them in the most horrific situations. And the church was part and parcel of that fact. Now, you and I, when we were in primary school and secondary school and probably even CC, it is framed in a way, you read in the history, and it's nice. It's not, it does, brutality, evil is involved, and the church is on the wrong side of history, but it does not come out to you as it comes out to you and I as adults now when we look back at that. I mean, the church has had a sexual scandal that has reigned for thousands of years, and the church remains silent on that. This matter was raised in the United Nations, the UNHCR, and up to that point, the church was doing nothing about it. You understand? The church only moves and acts and gets out of its wall of silence when the matter gets bad. I mean, the church has lost its moral integrity. If you can't correct yourself, if GERARD Paul will just keep on doing the worst things forever, to the point that everybody has to come and tell me I am wrong for 100 years, or for 50 years, or 10 years, then where is my moral fabric? And that has been a problem with the church. This is not anything new. Okay? You had the civil rights movement in the United States with civil rights, the rights of people being crushed in. They were setting dogs at people. They were snakes.
And certainly, Father, on you have those concerns. You have raised those concerns, which brings me to, because I'm going to get back to the actual agreement that was reached, but it brings me to a question that I want to ask you: is that why did you become so deeply involved in the Catholic Church as to become a priest, given the concerns that you have, the difficulty that you have with some of the ways that the church has operated? Certainly the sex scandal and the fact that the church actually covered it up. You said they did nothing. They covered it up. They did something. They covered it up. But you became a priest. Anyhow, why?
Okay, so there are many angles to the answer of that question. I want to clarify what we say when we say the church. You see, there are so many things we mean when we say the church. So when we say the church, sometimes we mean the Pope, sometimes we mean the leaders, the bishop, the priest. Even say the church. I want to clarify that the church is the people of God. The Second Vatican Council of 1965 made that abundantly clear. But still, sometimes when we say the church, we mean the leaders. So in this case, when I say the church covered up, it's the leaders. I mean, the atrocities that have been committed by the church.
But Father, when I say the church, I mean the people of the church too, because I cannot believe that the church, inclusive of its people, were not aware of some of the specific incidents of abuse that were happening all over the world with priests. The ladies of the church who know everything that goes on in the church, they are formidable force. And so I think that there are people who did not speak on this. So when I say it, I'm talking about the entire church. But go ahead, sir.
Yeah, yes, again, that can be said, and so on. Silence means consent and all of that. Um, but the fact is that who led it? Who made it happen? You know, it's the leader.
But knowing all of that, though, why did you become a priest?
You know, you're a journalist, and you remain a journalist. I'm sure you've been through hell in various institutions that you have worked in uh, concerning, in terms of your career. You would have worked with many institutions, and you would have been given the shitty side of the stick many times. I am sure about that. Um, but does that stop you from being a journalist? You're a mother, and your children cost you sometimes. I'm not saying you in particular. Your children cost you. All sorts of terrible things happen in the process. Do you live? Do you say, well, I see how these children treated their mother. I will never become a mother. I see and I hear and I know of the pain of childbirth. So I will not commit a mother. I
Okay,
will not become a mother.
so Father Paul, you stay in spite of everything that you know. Why?
Because I am able to function. I'm able to do my work. Um, yes, there is much more I should and I believe I should be doing. But okay, you take it for example. On a regular daily basis, my work with the people of God um, uh, is what matters. The issues of injustice and the issues of wrongs and rights will come up from time to time. But I am working every day, and I can ask you the same question. Why have you remained in journalism? Why you continue to pursue that tough career? And just about anything we do in life has its upside and its downsides, terrible sides. Injustice reigns everywhere in the world of employment. No matter where you go, you find it. So does the whole world opt out of everything? So the question is a fair question, but the fact is that if we look around us, what is happening every day in life, um, you know, it's like saying to the people in Gaza, they're killing you. Why don't you go into Rafah and go into Egypt? Why don't you run from your country? No, they stand up and they continue the resistance and they continue the struggle for 6 months. And they have continued for 75 years.
This is the narrative. I'm your storyteller, Callistra Faria. I'm speaking with Father GERARD Paul following a mediation meeting which took place in St. George's over the weekend. And Father Paul and Bishop Harvey on the road to reconciliation after a few tense weeks in St. George's. More when we come back.